observations on the Republican and right-wing media hate virus. This starts out with this story, this just absolutely tragic story. A young woman and her two children, a son who was 7 and her daughter who was 3 years old, were in the pool. She was by the pool, and the two kids were in the shallow end of the pool, safely in the shallow end of the pool, at their apartment building in Texas. And she was Muslim, so she was wearing a very modest swimsuit and a hijab, which infuriated Elizabeth Wolfe, a 42-year-old white Christian woman who saw them and began loudly berating the young woman. Actually, I don't know if she's Christian or not. Anyhow, she began loudly berating the young woman, using racial slurs to basically tell her to go back where she came from. This woman is a U.S. citizen. And then Wolfe jumps into the pool and grabs the two little kids and tries to drag them into the deep part of the pool to drown them. Mom jumps in, grabs the 7-year-old, who now has been scratched by Wolfe's fingernails. But Wolfe gets away and drags the 3-year-old into the deep part of the pool, and Mom is screaming, "Somebody help, she's trying to kill my baby, she's killing my baby." And Wolfe is holding this 3-year-old's head underwater, and the little girl is drowning. An African-American man nearby, there were several observers just watching, and an African-American man jumped into the pool and rescued the 3-year-old. And the police came, and as they were handcuffing Wolfe, she yells at the arresting police officer. She says, "Tell her I will kill her and I will kill her whole family." This is hate. And that little girl is now probably scarred for life. She has post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, so badly that she's unwilling to go out of her apartment. She's terrified that the woman is going to try and kill her again. 3 years old. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter. I just can't imagine. I would be so angry. This is, and Mom, she issued the press was asking her for a statement. She issued a statement. She said, "My daughter is traumatized. Whenever I open the apartment door, she runs away and hides, telling me she's afraid the lady will come and immerse her head in water again. Also, my husband's employment is jeopardized because he now has to leave work to accompany me and our 4 kids whenever we have appointments, and errands to run." Hate has always been part of the American landscape. But interestingly, from 1990 or 91 was the year that the FBI began compiling statistics on hate crimes. It was a brand new thing. This was, during the George Herbert Walker Bush administration. And, looking at hate and hate crimes seemed like a good idea. And so the FBI began compiling those statistics. And with the exception of 1995, when for the first couple months after the Oklahoma City bombing, everybody in America thought it was Muslim terrorists. And 2001, when 9/11 happened, with the exception of those 2 years, there has been a steady decline in hate crimes from 1990 till 2015. A steady decline, a rather dramatic one, in fact, with 2 little bumps in the middle. And then Donald Trump jumps on the scene in 2015 in the Republican primary, comes down his escalator and begins his campaign with hate. Hating on Mexicans, calling them murderers and rapists and all this kind of thing. The fact of the simple reality is that communities that have the highest number of undocumented immigrants in them are the safest communities in America, whether they're border towns along the southern border, they have a lower crime rate than the rest of America, or whether they're big cities where southern governors have shipped all kinds of migrants. They now have the lowest crime rates in America too. Why? Well, of course, because migrants are not coming to this country to commit crime. If they want to commit crime, if they want to rob people or rape people, they can do that in Mexico. They can do that in Guatemala. They don't have to come here to do it. They come here looking for jobs and for freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from gangs, freedom from violence. And they're looking for, they're looking to work. They're not, quote, illegal immigrants are more than 30% less likely to commit crimes in America than native-born Americans. It's pretty amazing. But don't tell that to Fox News. Don't tell that to Donald Trump. Don't tell that to the right-wingers. The politics of hate are cheap, easy, and effective, which is why, by and large, since World War II, most of our politicians have not engaged in this. You had George Wallace back in the 60s, and Donald Trump in 2015. And what happened in 2015 when Donald Trump came along? Well, just that year, the FBI reported that hate crimes in 2015, for the first time since 1990, with the exception of 95 and 2001, but basically for the first time since 1990, hate crimes went up 6.8% over 2014. The following year, when Trump became the Republican Party's nominee, 2016, hate crimes went up another 5%. This is an explosion in hate violence. After Trump declared he was going to ban all Muslim immigration after he became president, anti-Muslim hate crimes went up 67%. And the fall-winter of 2016 saw a 25.6% increase in documented hate crimes over the fourth quarter of 2015. A University of North Texas study found that counties that hosted a Trump rally in 2016 saw a 226% increase in reported hate crimes when compared to counties in the same state that didn't have a Trump rally. The simple reality is that hatred is contagious. It's every bit as contagious as a bacteria or a virus. And when it infects a host and begins to grow, to live and grow inside that host, it not only damages them psychologically and emotionally, it even damages them physically. You know, this guy called into my program yesterday and was all bent out of shape about some illegal immigrant had raped some girl someplace. Some teenage girl, right? And Fox News had just pounded on it for days, as has right-wing hate media. Because, hey, any little excuse to promulgate hate, this is what the right wing is all about these days. Let's find somebody to hate on. Let's hate on queer people. Let's hate on Muslims. Let's hate on black people. Let's hate on Hispanics. This, it's what they do. The Murdoch family has made billions peddling hate in the United States, England, and Australia. The former Prime Minister of Australia, Kevin Rudd, wrote an op-ed for the Sydney Morning Herald, the kind of New York Times of Australia, that was headlined, Rupert Murdoch is the cancer in Australian politics. It's true. Trump's most recent hate-filled abomination, he was in front of a Christian conservative audience. And he said, let's throw immigrants into locked cages with professional cage fighters and see who wins. He said, I think the migrant guy might win. That's how tough they are. These are tough people. These people are tough. They're nasty. They're mean. It's incredible they come here to America totally unchecked. Right. Sell that fear. Sell that hate. There is truly no bottom. You know, Jerry Ford, when he was inaugurated, the day he was inaugurated president, said, my fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over. As we bind up the internal wounds of Watergate, more painful and more poisonous than those of foreign wars, let us restore the golden rule to our political process and let brotherly love purge our hearts of suspicion and of hate. Next January, God willing, Trump loses and is imprisoned. We're going to have to engage in the hard work of healing our nation from being daily bathed in hate for 9 long years. Even today, we have to begin that process. And it won't be easy. But this is what Germany had to do after World War II. They had to incorporate lessons about hate into their public school curriculum. Here in the United States in the 1940s, Time, Life, and Fortune magazines produced anti-hate films funded by the U.S. government to deal with the legacy of the hateful pro-Nazi and pro-Klan hate that was being spread around America in the years leading up to World War II. In fact, the military produced some of these. I put 2 of those videos, YouTube's of 2 of those videos in today's article that I sent out to everybody who subscribes to Hartmann Report. Our government, I think, should undertake a similar effort. and hook up with some of the major media organizations that have eschewed hate, that have said, no, we're not going to use hate. Obviously, Fox is not going to be one of them. But, hook up with CNN or MSNBC or Paramount Pictures or something, and produce some videos, some films that point out that hate is a cheap, effective political weapon, and you should not be vulnerable to it. You should not be taken in by it. Because this is all the Republican Party has to sell anymore. Tax cuts and hate. Tax cuts for billionaires. They don't want tax cuts for you and me. Actually, taxes on average working people are going up right now because that increase in taxes on working people was built into Trump's tax cuts. We'll be right back.